Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Stampeding Dogs. I am your host, Aaron, with my co host, JR.
What's up, everybody?
How is everybody doing on a wonderful Thursday? We are back at it, June 10th, 2021. Beautiful day up here in Cleveland. I'm assuming it's probably beautiful down there as well.
It was only 81 degrees at 10 o'clock this morning.
I think by like around there, it was in the mid to upper 70s, and it felt really nice. I'm not gonna lie. Summer is in full swing, and to be remotely honest with you, I wish it was like this all year round. But whatever, But we are back, and before we get into it, I want to thank Dan, or I should say, we want to thank Dan on coming on, even though Jr. was like 45 minutes late. Thank you, Dan, for coming out. Talking some sports. I know we talked Buckeye football, and then we talked about obviously your Steelers and stuff like that. So thank you, Dan, for coming out, and thank you for JR for actually coming on. But you're 40 minutes late, so
It was kind of like Dan was the co-host and I was the special guest.
well, I mean, you're special even though you are the co-host. So I mean, that really doesn't. I didn't even mean it like that. I was just saying you're just a special person, regardless, buddy.
Oh, thanks, buddy. Thanks. That's so sweet.
Hey, man, I try. I really do try. On tap, what we have going on tonight is, we are going to talk about the breaking news that did happen at 2:20 today. Julio Jones, that was another topic we talked about. He finally gets traded to Tennessee. That happened last Sunday, was finalized Monday morning. And then we're going to go over the nice little poll that we did about, Rodgers, whether he stays, he retires, what team he goes to. Thank you, everyone that went out and vote. We appreciate it. And I think that's something we should kind of do more. I think that was kind of cool in itself.
Yeah.
Talk about the Indians, man. There was a big trade they did. I think pretty much everybody's happy about it. So we'll get into it. Although, I mean, I know Matt is going to the game on Saturday, so he'll have to see this person. So, and he doesn't very like him that much. I don't think the city of Cleveland really likes him. So, and then go over awards that dropped last night. With the NBA. So with that, Jr. I mean, let's talk about what broke. And literally on my lunch break, and I'm playing the show, getting my ass kicked about against Detroit, and I get a notification. And I say, "Huh, what is this?" Breaking news: College football will consider expanding to a 12-team format when it meets in Chicago next week. In my mind, I saw when they were expanding, I said, cool. But when I saw the amount of teams, I said, no. Did they or did they not get this right, JR?
They swung at a hanging breaking ball and completely whiffed. Like everyone was like, is it going to be expanded to 6? Is it going to be 8? Is 8 too many? 10 might be borderline too many. And they're just like, nah, 12. We get a 12 pack up in this. And just real quick, so everyone knows, last season the final rankings, well, not final rankings, but the going into the uh, bowl games, the bowl season, Alabama was 1, Clemson was 2, Ohio State was 3, Notre Dame was 4, Texas A&M was 5, Oklahoma 6, Florida was 7th, Cincinnati was 8th, Georgia was 9th, Iowa State was 10th, Indiana was 11th, and Coastal Carolina was 12th.
That's my national champion right there.
So
Coastal Carolina, stamp it.
in the first round, you would have had Alabama versus Coastal Carolina, uh, Indiana versus Clemson, Iowa State versus Ohio State. I think that'd actually be a pretty interesting game. Georgia State, Notre Dame, Cincinnati and Texas A&M, and then it would have ended up being Oklahoma versus Florida either way because they were 6 and 7.
They played. Yeah, I mean, you're right. I think they swung and missed. I thought if anything, they would have tried to expand it to 6 first.
Yeah.
You know, just like how the old NFL. You know, this was how my interpretation of this was. Expand it, fine, cool, whatever. I think it needs to be expanded anyways. I think everyone's kind of getting sick and tired of the same old teams. Whatever. Expanded to 6. As the old NFL, you know, breakdown what it went was 1 and 2 get buys, 3 and 6, 4 and 5. The whole thing, I'm kind of curious to see how the schedule's going to look, to see if conference championships kind of go away, or a sense of it's not recommended to be in, I guess, because, you know, they value certain things, even though it seems to change every single year.
Yeah.
But it's also good for the little guy in a sense of, you know, Coastal Carolina. Everybody was talking about Cincinnati because Cincinnati went undefeated, and there was a sense of, do they belong over Notre Dame or not? Because Notre Dame did beat Clemson in the rematch in the ACC title game. They got smacked. Just to expand it to 12, if they would have went to 8, I'd have been okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what's your magic number on that, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I would have been okay with 8. 8 seemed like a solid number. I mean, if it was 8, Cincinnati would have been in it. And like you were saying, yeah, it gives some of the smaller schools an opportunity, which going to a more, what's the word I want to use? I don't want to say valuable, but a more prestigious, that's the word I want to use. A more prestigious bowl will bring in more money for that school.
Cool. Yep.
So in that sense, okay, good for the smaller those schools. But I think that's too big of a jump.
I'm kind of curious to see what the end game is going to be when they discuss this next week. So that is something we will talk about next week for sure. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't want to get into too much of this since we don't know the final result, but I just kind of wanted to know your take on that because I just think it's interesting. Does it need to happen? Yeah, I think we both can agree with that. I just don't think 12 is the number.
No.
I just don't think 12 is the number.
I think when they sit down next week, hopefully they take the public's opinion of the suggestion of 12 teams into mind and say, okay, it looks like the majority of people don't like this idea, and maybe they'll make some changes.
I'm also curious too, because, you know, you kind of hinted on the revenue aspect. You know, I wonder the reason why they're making this jump, because they did lose a bunch of money last year in the grand scheme of sports. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering if that's the reasoning, so they could kind of, you're not ever going to get that money back, but the amount of money you could possibly make just to cover some of the losses, I think that's what they're trying to go for. I'm just more curious to see what the athletic directors are going to say about the 12.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm more curious, because we already are having this blown out debate with all these athletic directors to pay the student athletes. So I'm kind of curious because it's a longer schedule for football. And these are college kids too. They're not pros.
Yeah.
And, so I'm kind of curious to see what that aspect is going to be. So when we get more details, and hopefully that is next week, we will come back and discuss that more. Sticking with football, but going to the pros, you know, we talked about Julio Jones and where he can end up, and we all thought it was either going to be, you know, Tennessee, and it was Tennessee. I mean, so Tennessee, you know, they made the call Saturday, and then we're working closer to a deal, and then Sunday everything kind of broke, And then Monday, it was official. So Julio Jones, and I've seen a couple of their workouts because now they're in OTAs,
Yep.
and he looks okay. I mean, I know someone, and I don't know if you noticed the video, if you saw the video when he got out of the airplane, but someone kind of made a comment the same thing I did. Like, it looks like he's walking with a limp, and I'm like, either that's how he walks or he's got hurt coming out of the damn plane already. Um, but I think this is big for Julio. How this kind of works was this for everyone who doesn't know. Obviously, the Titans get Julio Jones. Um, the Falcons get a 2022 second rounder and a 2023 fourth rounder. The Titans, on top of Julio, they get a sixth rounder for 23. As for numbers per aspect, because I was kind of curious on the contract and everything like that, the Titans take on Jones' salary of $15.3 million in 2021, and then obviously the rest of the deal. And the Falcons saved $7.75 million in dead money for this year. I guess before we go into detail, what are your I can't even say initial because it's been 4 days. So what are your thoughts on the aftermath?
I was uh Sunday. Yeah, I was asleep when it happened. So I woke up and had a lot to catch up on. But I mean, it's an interesting deal. A second and a fourth. I know he's older, but that still seems like a fairly cheap price to get him for. And it gives that Tennessee offense another weapon. Although I did see a picture that said AJ Brown wide open, Julio Jones wide open, Titans offensive coordinator, hand it to Henry.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be a first run anyways, regardless. But I guess I am under the impression, they kept saying that they had a first rounder. Teams were offering first round picks. I'm curious to see if that was just a bunch of bull.
Yeah.
I mean, you get a second rounder. I mean, that's fine. I mean, I kind of assumed it was going to be a second round pick, just due to the fact he has been hurt the past few years. He's getting older. He's on the wrong age. He's on the wrong side of 30. So I was kind of curious to see if those, as we saw, these teams are offering a first round pick for him was a bunch of bull.
Yeah.
On top of that, the Titans also did what they also did. I don't know if you saw this too. Rappaport was saying they restructured Tannehill's deal as well, so they could create 15 more in the cap. And so they added what they did was they added 2 voidable years to the deal. So what the Titans actually did, they created over $18 million in cap, and that fits in nicely with the 15.3 that's going to come on this year. I guess my thoughts are going to be it's all on Tannehill. I believe this will be a run first team, but it gives them more options, especially in the red zone.
Yeah.
Because they could just go over the top to Julio as well. I don't necessarily think that this puts them into the Super Bowl contender by any means. I just think this means that their offense got more dynamic. Still think they have a lot of things to worry about on the defensive side. I know they got Caleb Farley from Virginia Tech, but he is injury prone as well. So just kind of curious to see how, in the grand scheme of things, how this kind of unfolds for this year for the Titans.
Yeah. I mean, it was their defense that let them down last year. So, and I know they attempted at improving it through the offseason. But yeah, like you said, Julio does add another dynamic. to the offense, and you can't double cover two receivers. I mean, you can, but you'll leave someone open.
Yeah, I mean, I just think this creates more, in the slot and the tight end game as well.
Yeah.
They lost Smith, their tight end, during the offseason. So, but I mean, all in all, I just think, I guess I just had to see this team and how this is going to work come playoff time. I still think they're a playoff team. I still think this is a fight between the Titans and the Colts for the division. Because I did have the Titans winning the division anyways,
Yep.
just by a slim over the Colts. I just think it's just curious to see how this is all going to fit. And for what the Titans gave up, they didn't give up much.
No, they didn't.
If at all anything. So this was a good move on Tennessee. Kind of confused on, I guess, the whole initial Atlanta saying they had multiple teams, this and that. But other than that, I mean, this was a good deal. And, I hope this is a good fit for Julio, because I believe they still should have won that Super Bowl when everything kind of imploded. And I remember telling you and Tom that game wasn't over at halftime. You guys were jumping up and down. I mean,
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't recall any of this happening.
So let's see what happens. But Julio is with Tennessee. And then I guess on the flip of things, I guess before I even get with Rodgers is, I guess this is me talking to the Denver fan base real quick. I don't know if you've seen this. This kind of came out. This kind of came out yesterday. Kareem Jackson said in a video that Watson wants to come to Denver. And I'm just kind of sitting here thinking, like, if you didn't have 20 plus lawsuits on your ass, dude, I would be cool with it. But I don't know. So to all Denver fans, yes, initially I did what Watson. He is younger, but he comes with a lot of baggage, and it's something that Denver really hasn't done in the past, really. I mean, it's not like, I got to say Las Vegas, but at the time it was Oakland Raiders, and they hired, all these guys that were like, in jail or beat up, their significant others and all this stuff. And I'm just sitting, it's not what Denver does. So I think the ship has sailed on Watson, me personally. And honestly, I kind of want to ask you this, because someone kind of asked this question, and it was, if you're Watson and the PR mess that's happening with Houston, because they got to deal with this on a day-to-day basis, they're the ones that gave you all this money. And someone asked the question after saying that is, do you believe Watson should be obligated to go back in there at least and try to make amends? And I thought that was a good question.
Yeah. I mean, obligated to very
strong word.
Yeah, for that, because I mean, I wouldn't say obligated. I would say if he's not a bad human being, he should try to go in there and make amends. Like, it's more than just obligated. It's, if you're a good person, yeah, you try to fix what's been done. And if he doesn't, well, then that's just one more bad look on his current reputation.
Yeah, I mean, we don't even know what's gonna happen. We've been hearing, I've been hearing a lot of, he's gonna settle, and then his lawyer comes out saying, "Oh, we're not settling." And I guess I'm just more curious, even if he does get traded, let's say if he goes to Denver, would Denver really be willing to let him play that full season with everything going on? Or would the commissioner be like, yeah, no, you're not playing this year? So I don't think personally he's going to play this year. it's different than, Rodgers, because Rodgers is 37 years old and Watson, is younger. But I don't know. I thought that was an interesting question,
Yeah.
and I think he should try to make amends with everything. He doesn't even have to play another down, just kind of going in there and just, hey, like, everything that you guys been doing, PR stand, like, I appreciate you, but at the same time, it's just like, is that relationship too rocky enough to even say sorry, I guess,
Yeah.
or even have a face to face conversation. So, um, on to Rodgers though, and there has been really no new leads per se. But before we get into the poll, um, on the 7th, so 3 days ago, Rappaport was saying that, Rodgers is not coming to a mandatory OTAs. And apparently Devontae Smith wasn't in town earlier in the week as well. Um, so it looks like Rodgers is sticking to his guns on that. And then Ben Albright, I guess he had Rob Dominski. If I said his name wrong, I apologize. Such a weird name. Um, and pretty much what he does is he is an ESPN NFL Nation Packers reporter. So I guess he was on Albright's podcast, and he's saying that he is hearing that Rodgers is not going to play another down for Green Bay. So as we get into the poll that we just did the other day, and again, thank you for everyone that.
Can I change my vote?
Bro, it's too late, man.
I didn't
I'm
see
guessing.
I didn't see that quote. I don't. I have no memory of this quote.
So we put out there, now that Julio was with Tennessee, and this was back on the 7th. What happens with Rodgers? We had stay with Green Bay, retires, it gets traded, and 53% of you said he stayed with Green Bay. 6% says he retires, and 41 gets traded. 41% says he gets traded, and I actually voted he would stay with Green Bay as well. After hearing and reading what everyone is saying about this whole situation, I am starting to get the sense it's going to be he retires from the game and owes back all that money, or he gets traded. Now, a good idea, I guess, where everything stands with Jordan Love is, I feel like if they would feel confident enough with Jordan Love, they would have said, okay, Rodgers is available.
Yeah.
I know they keep bringing all these freaking QBs, to try out for the team. I'm like, how many QBs do you guys need? 8 QBs on your roster? Like, okay. So I guess hearing that, I mean, so what are your thoughts? I mean, we did the poll, you just heard. Like, so
Yep.
what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I saw that. I want to say I saw it last night. I saw something pop up on my feed about it. And I had voted he was going to stay. But now, yeah,
We don't know. We really don't
yeah,
know.
he obviously doesn't want to be there. With the current management in charge. But I don't know if they're gonna give in to what he wants as far as a change in the front office, or if they're gonna give in to him not wanting to be on the team. So we'll have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I'm just more curious. It's kind of like you, if they're going to give into the demands, and I just feel like they would have made a deal already if they felt confident in Love. Yeah. So I just feel like they're waiting. I think they're hoping to see if they can salvage that relationship, and from what it sounds like, it's not salvageable. So curious to see what happens with Rodgers, and And I think, I think we could kind of agree that if they trade him, I think Denver's that front runner. Although you probably don't want to hear that.
No, I don't. I really don't.
So, I mean, all Denver needs is a quarterback to run that Porsche that they got up there. And hey, I just you give me that look, and I'm going to actually. I was hoping you'd give me that look because I have something for you.
I'll give you a Corvette. Not
Nah,
I don't
man.
know about a Porsche.
All
I
right,
don't know.
so this is what PFF just came out with today the other day is top secondary units. Denver number 1. Defensive line rankings, PFF comes out with Denver number 10, which I was kind of surprised about that. If I'm being remotely honest, was kind of taken back about that. I thought it'd be between 15 and 20. I'll be remotely honest about the defensive line. The top wide receivers and tight ends, Denver number 6. PFF's top slot cornerbacks, Bryce Callahan number 2. The top safeties per PFF, Justin Simmons number 1. On top with an improving offensive line that Denver has as well, which I've seen could possibly a top 10, bearing injuries and stuff like that. It's all there. The only downside you could possibly say is the center and then our running back position. Because, fumble Melvin Gordon over here, likes to cough up the ball twice a freaking damn game. But Denver has all the tools for Rod to be like, hey, Rodgers, just come in and just do your thing, dude. Just do your thing. So I think Denver is in a unique situation, regardless of what they do quarterback. But I hope he comes to Denver. I really, really hope he comes to Denver.
I think you do.
I think those games against the Chiefs would be a lot more fun than what they have been the past freaking 6 years. So as soon as we get more Rodgers update, we will talk about it, but that's all we have. But 54% of us kind of said that he's staying in Green Bay. The next topic is, but we are going to talk about the Indians and kind of catch up. I can't even remember. I was thinking about this today. When's the last time we talked to him? It was like 2 weeks ago.
Something like that, at least.
I believe I want to say it was the Chicago series, which was at the end of the month, like early, like June. So I'm kind of curious, a lot of I don't even know what I even want to say. I guess a lot of the hate towards the Dolans, the team, the name change per se. And I guess a few names were kind of thrown out there, and apparently, Daryl Reuter, this is what he said. The Cleveland Indians Baseball Company LLC already owns trademark rights to the Blues, Naps, and Bronchos. Which I don't know what a Broncho is, but that sounds cool. All right, I just want to throw that out there. I just think that's badass. It's probably just going to be some dude in a hat, but that sounds cool. Broncho. I think that sounds cool. They are challenging applications for natives, foresters, warriors, guardians, the Cleveland Baseball Club, heroes, and squirrels. Not squirrels, but Squires. Broncho, Squires, let's call ourselves the damn freaking squirrels.
And Aaron, I had to look it up, so I did search what is a Broncho. I believe it's just Bronco, but spelled with the CH.
Well, that's why I like it so much.
There's a Central Oklahoma Broncos, and their mascot is a horse.
Dude, this city would riot, especially if it's blue and orange. Exactly. That's the look. I'm confused. So would I be able to wear my Broncos gear down there? I guess then if that's the case. No, okay. I mean, so I don't know if we had a conversation about this, but I know we talked about the name change. Is there anything that you're kind of leaning towards? Like, is there anything that what I just said you're like, oh yeah, that's what I kind of like too?
I'd
Besides the
be okay with
Broncos.
the Broncos. That's what we'll call them. We won't call them the Broncos. We're gonna call them the Broncos. I'm okay with the Guardians.
Yep.
Um, I don't want them. Uh, I'm trying to think. What were some of the other ones on there?
So we got the natives, which by the way, I think would be kind of ironic
It would.
because we're the Indians and you want to call them the natives.
That would be very ironic.
That's very, very similar to Indians, people. I'm just gonna throw that out there because natives, Native American. I think you guys get that. Whatever. Then you got foresters, which, by the way, I know we're gonna be a bunch of damn lumberjacks that go into the woods, and I don't know.
I mean,
Got
we had the Cleveland Lumberjacks when we had
see
a hockey team.
see, and it's funny because I know when they were trying to think of names, I thought of the lumberjacks. I also thought of the oh gosh, what was it? The Crunch, the indoor soccer team. I don't know if you remember that or not.
I don't.
That was years and years ago. And I even said the Rockers because we had the women's basketball team here. But the more I thought about it, I don't want anything to be associated with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I know we had the All-Star game, and the All-Star game was cool. Don't get me wrong. Like the All-Star weekend was sweet, but I think they pushed a lot of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I don't think that sit well with me. Um, we got the Warriors, Indiana Tech Warriors, man. I got all that gear ready, man, just in case.
True.
And then we got everybody's favorite, I think, Cleveland Baseball Club. I mean, all right, dude, whatever. And then Heroes. See, out of those, outside of the Broncos, I really like Guardians. I think that's something I'm just not going to stop with the Broncos. Not stop with the Broncos. There was actually, and if I could find the text message, is this, there was another one that me and Seth were kind of going back on, and it was the Gauchos. Look up UCSB Gauchos. They were in the NCAA tournament. They lost to a point against Creighton this year, and they had black jerseys but blue, the blue writing. I thought that looked kind of cool.
What was the
school's name is UCSB, and then
University of California, Santa Barbara.
I think that looks cool. I think the colors itself looks cool. But yeah, no, I mean, I think Guardians would be on there. I think everyone could kind of relate to that in a sense outside of Cleveland. But I mean, I think it's slim pickings. I think it's honestly slim pickings. So, what?
Google did UCSB dirty.
Why?
So when you search them, it shows some of their information and everything, and then it shows people also search for, and the very first suggestion is Creighton's men's basketball team.
Damn.
Oh, that's so rude. That's just disrespectful.
Up. That's messed up, man. That's messed up. But I mean, I think we're in agreement that Guardians would be.
And I mean, since the indoor football flamed out, might as well just take their name.
Yeah, I know a few people kind of brought up, let's take their logo, but we could keep the same color because I believe theirs was red and black, red and blue, I believe it was. So it'd be the same.
It was red, black, white, silver, like.
Yeah. So I mean, so we could kind of keep the same, like as you can see, I'm wearing the Wahoo. You kind of keep the same color, but I mean, I don't know when we'll know about the change of the name, but outside of that, I think I'm pretty sure the whole city of Cleveland rejoiced today, even though we'll see them this weekend. Jake Bowers got traded earlier this morning. And I'm pretty sure I saw fireworks at like 10, 11 o'clock at night. Well, no, this morning. I'm sorry. So I think we saw the fireworks. He got traded to the Mariners, which he is supposed to be on the roster today. They're up in Detroit, and then Mariners coming to town this weekend. So I just think that's kind of funny. And right now it's either Cash or a player to be named later. Honestly, Dolan, you guys say you're strapped for Cash, take the damn Cash. I mean, why the hell not?
That was probably my favorite part of the trade, was how it was a player to be named later or cash considerations. Like, he's not worth both. He's only worth one. And I was dying laughing when I saw that. But I mean, yeah, I was definitely, I was rooting for him, but he just never
I'll hand out.
yeah.
I'll be honest with you. Outside of probably his family, you're probably the only one that really kind of was hoping, he would do well.
I mean, at the beginning of the season,
So,
when I
like in
realized,
February.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fair. That's fair.
I mean, the last player we had with a last name close to that did pretty well. So I was hoping.
That's true. That's true.
I was hoping there was some relativity between the names, where, that didn't happen.
No. But Jake Bowers is off the team. I think we all kind of finally rejoice. And then, well, like I said, I can't remember. I think it's been like a couple weeks since we talked about the Tribe actually itself. They just had a 2-game trip against St. Louis, and they split.
Yep.
Rocked the first game and got their ass kicked the next game. So nothing new there.
Nah, not typical.
No, so I mean, they open up against the Mariners tomorrow. They're back in Cleveland. I think I was kind of pissed off about the Baltimore series. They had an easy chance to at least go 2 out of 3. And this is how it goes. You lose 3-1 the opening series game. You go 10-4. And then you get your ass kicked in the finale 18-5 against Baltimore. Which, by the way, Baltimore, as I'm looking at the standings right now, is the second worst team in baseball behind Arizona. Baltimore. That should have been a 2 or a sweep. I'm sorry. I'm going to apologize. On top of, against Toronto, I was kind of hoping, for a better result. The first game they lost 11-2. Second game got postponed, so they played back-to-back days of doubleheaders, and they split. But with Toronto, it's like you had a chance to kind of prove yourself, and you kind of wet the bed.
Yeah.
And I know everyone's going to talk about the offense, and yes, the offense is not very good. But and maybe I'm wrong. And I just told my dad about this today, playing sports since I was 6 years old. It's always about competition and how you rise. And everything I saw, they took the White Sox series, but that's because the finale was postponed due to rain. I feel like that's all we get here nowadays. Again, I feel like I'm the new Seattle. So I was happy with the result with the White Sox, but Baltimore was unacceptable. Laying an egg against Toronto the first couple games was kind of disappointing. I mean, I thought that's exactly who they would be, around a 500 team. That's what I said, kind of stay afloat around 500 till, mid to late June, early July, and kind of go. They're still 4 games back. That's just Baltimore series. It just irks me. It really does irk me.
Yep.
I mean, go on. I'm sorry.
There's no reasonable excuse for that to have happened. especially that last game.
Yeah, they got shelled. They got absolutely shelled. They got shelled. And I'm listening to it and I'm like, seriously? To Baltimore out of all teams? Out of all teams. Baltimore.
Yeah, I saw that and I was just like, my first reaction was who pitched and was pitching throughout the game. I I know Whitgren's name and I know Quantrill's name. The rest of them, Sandlin, Henches, Stefan, and Nelson, I didn't even know any of them were on our roster.
Yeah, I believe these are guys from the minor leagues. Sandlin rings a bell because I just saw him on the show too. So,
Well,
but
they,
I mean,
they probably could have used a few more days in the minors.
but it's just looking at just the Indians. You're just like, all right, well, I expect them to be where they're at. But
Yep.
that winnable that Baltimore series is winnable. You know, I'm looking at the Mariners, that's winnable, and then Baltimore comes to town for 4. And I'm telling you what, right now, if they don't take 3 out of 4 against Baltimore, I'm gonna be really pissed off. On top of, I'm going to Pittsburgh next Saturday to go watch them play. So they have back to back to back winnable series. Oh, and they go to Minnesota, which, you know, by the way, is underperforming, and I'll bring them up next because
Yeah.
there has been a few people that I know that have talked about Minnesota and say their hitting is so great, and when I bring up their pitching, they kind of just go around that. So I want to bring that up next. But back to the Indians. You have back to back to back. Minnesota is really hit or miss. I mean, we always seem to struggle up there. Then we come home for Detroit, and then we start in July, and I'm going to that game against Houston Thursday. Which, by the way, and thank you, man, for getting us damn good seats. I will be on the side of the Houston Astros bench staring into their damn dugout. And for everybody that doesn't know me, I am Hispanic and I do know kind of some Spanish words. And yes, before you say, JR, well, they're Hispanic, I'm glad they're Hispanic. So they'll know what the hell I'm talking about in English and in Spanish.
Hey, you know that game the Indians came back from 14-2 to the Mariners?
Oh, yeah,
Like,
that was back in, yeah.
there were I think there were Japanese fans in the stand, Indians fans, and they were teaching the Americans around them vulgar words to yell at Ichiro out in right field.
See, and it's funny because, and I'm not even gonna go too deep with the Houston. I think everyone knows how everybody feels,
Yeah.
and I'm not, you know, and I'm not different. They will hear an earful. They will hear an earful, and it's funny because before the schedule came out, and I was making this vacation in July, is they're gonna come into town when I'm going on vacation. The schedule came out 2 weeks later, and I was like, I hate being right sometimes. I really hate being right sometimes. But they still have possibly 4 to 5 winnable series. And you're heading towards the end of June, and the last series is Detroit at home. They need to win these series because if they don't, and I did say that Chicago was going to win the division, but in order for them to stay afloat, they have to take advantage of this part of the schedule. Because when July comes, we play Houston at home, and then we go to Tampa. We get Kansas City at home, and then we have the All-Star break, and then we open up on a West Coast road trip starting with the A's. So it's now or never, especially with these easy teams, and I think that's why I'm so frustrated is because you got to beat the crappy teams. You have to. You know, because everybody dogged us the past 3-4 seasons. Well, you guys are only in the hunt because you beat the crappy teams. Well, first off, that's what you're supposed to do if you're a good baseball team.
Yeah.
Doesn't
True.
matter if you beat up on the crappy teams. Everybody in your division has to play those crappy teams too. Number two, for being a young team, you have to take advantage of that. Because for everyone who doesn't know, September is pretty much so. You got Kansas City, go to Boston, you got Minnesota again, you got the Brewers, the Twins, you got the Yankees, you got to go to New York, and then you got the White Sox, and then for the finale, you got to go to Tejas and play the Rangers. So for Indians fans that are optimistic, and I'm optimistic too, but I'm going to say this. They have to take advantage between now and the end of June in order to stay afloat with Chicago. It's now or never, I think. Because Chicago has it figured out, I believe, and they're a damn good baseball team. And I don't expect them to be 13 games over, 500, the rest of the way. I expect them to be 20, 30 games over 500. So take advantage of it. I mean, I don't know if you have any final input on that.
Yeah, I mean, I just went over to my Excel spreadsheet for the predictions we did, and I have the White Sox winning the division as well. So I'm glad I got that right. But no, you're right. Like, for anyone that has that argument of you're only in the hunt because you beat the crappy teams, it's not our fault that the crappy teams happen to be in our division and we get to play them 30 times a season.
Yep.
And plus, if that's the thing, every team in every division plays those teams too.
Yep.
So I mean, it's just it's and like you said, you're supposed to beat the crappy teams, and when you don't, and you get absolutely walloped by a team like Baltimore, it's very disheartening to the fans. Disheartening? Yeah, disheartening.
I mean, it's that, and then it's a matter of, oh my gosh, the Indians do suck. But on the flip side, it's they only beat the crappy teams. That's a double standard, people. I'm sorry, that's not how that flies. If this was the Yankees, it'd be like, oh, the Yankees are doing awesome.
True.
So I'm to the point now where you're looking at the schedule and it's now or never to get everything jump started. And I'm going to leave it as that. So going around what's going on in the MLB, I kind of want to just kind of take a look at, the standings and everything and just kind of look at it. And it's kind of funny because I kind of hinted on Minnesota, and I'll get them in just a second. I still think they're kind of my surprise that they're doing so piss poor. And another team that's kind of been surprising too is the Angels as well. A lot of people had them, in the hunt for, either the division or the wild card. I look and I think back on my predictions. I didn't have Tampa Bay. I didn't think Tampa Bay would be this good. Chicago, we knew. We knew exactly what we're getting to with the White Sox. The Houston and A's, I mean, I believe we had them 1-2. I'm not too sure. I don't remember yours. I'm sorry.
I had Houston 1, Angels 2.
Oh, and then you had
the other A's. Yeah. But
gotcha.
No,
okay.
I actually had the Rays in second behind the Yankees.
Okay. So, I believe I had Toronto behind. I had New York, Toronto, and then Tampa, and then Boston, and then Baltimore. And then we go National League. I mean, I had the Mets.
Yep.
I had Milwaukee and Chicago right there. And I think the surprise team for me is I don't know why I almost said the 49ers. That's weird. I don't know why. The Giants. I don't know. I saw the SF. I don't know.
You saw
Um,
San Francisco.
I'm like, I don't know why I thought of the Niners, but you
Yeah.
know, it's that. But the Dodgers, the Dodgers are getting over their injuries. I think that's what their biggest deal was on offense. The pitching is going to be there.
Yep.
They finally got Bellinger back. I know Muncy had his ankle kind of banged up, but I know he's doing all right now. The Dodgers will be fine. The Padres will be fine. I expect the Giants to fall back a little bit, but is there a surprise team that you kind of look at? You're like, wow, you guys are really, really being crappy, or wow, you're doing really, really good, doing better
Yeah.
than I expected.
Yep. Definitely Minnesota. I had them coming in second in our division, and they are among the bottom of the barrel in the American League. Um, I gotta take a look at some of these standings. I had L.A., San Diego, and then San Francisco. So the Giants are exceeding their expectations. What else? What else? The Nationals aren't doing as hot as I thought they would. Braves are in third. Cubs and Brewers and St. Louis are 1, 2, 3 like I had. So yeah, I guess my biggest surprise is Minnesota, and then my second biggest, I'd have to say, the Yankees being third in that division. Like to not even be second, that's more of a surprise than Boston being good, because it's Boston. I probably shouldn't have underestimated them, but I expected the Yankees to be better than what I've seen from them. And I know they've had injuries, but
Well, it's funny
they have a
because
stacked roster.
it's funny you mentioned Boston, New York, because outside of Cole, who do you really trust in that rotation?
Yeah,
You don't really trust nobody.
no,
So I mean, you can only
Kluber.
you okay. Well, I mean, he did have
He had a no
that
hitter, and I
no
think
no, but
he missed it by a perfect game by one walk. I think he had one walk.
but realistically, outside of Cole, you can only pitch him every 5 days.
Yeah,
Who do you trust? And it's funny, like Boston really doesn't have a dominant starting pitcher either, but their
no,
bullpen is good. Their
yeah,
bullpen is good. But it's funny because you look at New York, and I think me and Matt kind of talked about this because I believe you were working that night. Was this we saw New York, good offensive team, but they're struggling right now.
yeah. I forgot I had worked for someone.
So we are, and then we talked about their rotation, and that could be their Achilles heel because their bullpen isn't that bad, and it's their starting pitching that's letting them down. It's and I guess you could say the offense too. It's been underperforming as well, but I don't expect that to be a whole season type thing because their offense is too good to struggle the whole year. So it's really you need to go get another guy in the rotation. If I'm New York, you need to go make a trade. You
Yeah,
know, I'm not going to talk about Minnesota. I am going to talk about Minnesota, but I'm not going to mention that they're my surprise team because you said them as well. So we are in agreement on there. I think a team I kind of want to kind of do a shout out is one is definitely San Francisco. I didn't know too much about them. I know the past, the last few seasons, a handful of seasons, they haven't done well.
yeah,
And I didn't think there was a lot of guys that came in the free agency that kind of would, like, make an immediate impact. But I want to do a shout out to the Giants. I think they're playing great baseball. Hopefully they keep it up, and I think it'd be cool to come down to a 3-man race because I think we all kind of assumed it was going to be the Dodgers and the Padres kind of hand in
yeah,
hand for that division, and then we go to the Central. I mean, outside of the Pirates, you got Milwaukee and Chicago who are deadlocked. And then St. Louis, I mean, everyone thought they would probably run away with the division, but I think San Francisco, for me, is kind of a nice surprise. And then you kind of talked about the Nationals. I mean, Scherzer's getting old. Strasburg is kind of beat up. I would know he's on my fantasy team. Um, Speaking of fantasy baseball, sorry, my team has been struggling as of late, so I'm not too happy about that.
Bro, I
So
lost 1-9.
that's impressive.
It's bad.
So
I had a
the
lot of
Nationals, the Nationals don't surprise me. I believe I had them picked in front of Miami. So that division, outside of if you would flip Atlanta and Philly, I would have that completely dead right now. But I mean, going back to Minnesota, I mean, for everyone that talks about, they did just sign somebody from the Lake Erie Crushers this week, and I made a joke saying, "Oh man, they'll sign anybody they could get right now." People are like, "Well, they're not a bad team," and I'm like, "Well, first off, if you want to talk about how bad they are, they're 24 and 37, 13 games behind Chicago. Hitting wise, yeah, they're fine. Been hurt, been beat up, very inconsistent. You want to talk pitching? Horrible. Over a
I,
4.3 ERA. And we're talking about outside of what's his name? Barrios.
Barrios, yeah.
I mean, all up and down. And even him too. I mean, and I kind of said in the last three postseason runs where they got knocked out in the first round, what was their Achilles heel? Their starting pitching and their bullpen. And that's exactly what we're seeing so far. So for everyone that says, their hitting is fine, oh, that's nice. But we can also talk to the Yankees too. You know, their hitting is just better, but they're 5.5 behind Tampa. So Minnesota, curious to see what's going to happen next month if they become sellers and they start selling, and they start trading, because I think they're done.
You want
I
some
kind of
numbers?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm looking at ESPN standings that have more expanded numbers and everything. Out of the 32 MLB teams, only one team has more runs allowed than the Minnesota Twins, and that's the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Yeah, and they're a hot mess too.
Yeah, that's how bad it is. Like, and I was actually surprised the Yankees aren't that high on the runs allowed. Even Boston has more runs allowed, but they've scored a lot more runs. But yeah, for Minnesota, they have the second most runs scored in the Central Division, but the second most runs allowed in Major League Baseball.
And I'm not saying Minnesota is like a fire dumpster, but I will say this. I am very, very big on at least three, maybe that fourth rotational guy in the playoffs. Or you could kind of throw him in the bullpen and he could kind of eat up a lot of innings.
Yeah.
But you need a good at least three guys in your bullpen. Your bullpen has to be at least maybe top 5 or 7.
Yep.
And they don't
Agreed.
have that. And
No.
we are seeing them struggling because of that. Um, it's kind of funny because if I had a second favorite team, it would be Minnesota, just for the fact I went to 2 or 3 games in the Metrodome because I got family up in Minnesota. And like I told them, literally just last weekend, because I broke the news to them. So, for everyone who doesn't know, again, I'm going to be a pappy again. So I told them they're going to be bad this year unless their rotation can get better. I expect them to be sellers by the deadline, unless they have this turnaround. But good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck. Let's kind of take a look at their schedule. And right now they're playing the Yankees. They got to play Houston. They go to Seattle. They go to Tejas. And then they play the Reds. They play the Indians. Got to go to Chicago to end the month of June. shouldn't be as easy. It's not going to be as easy per se in a sense as it should be for the Indians. Minnesota fans, you guys are in deep shit. So I think they'll become settlers. Curious to see how I think the Indians will kind of look once we come out of the All-Star break with a couple weeks left to see if anything kind of gets shuffled.
Yeah.
Obviously we need a bet desperately. Oh my gosh, need another bet desperately. But are they willing to do it? I don't know. Don't know. But Minnesota, just you're almost to that point for me that it's almost time to get ready for spring training. As for the Indians, thank God Bowers is gone. So happy about that. Hopefully we could take the series against Seattle. Let's start moving in the right direction because then we got Baltimore coming into town. Easy part of the schedule. Let's take it one game at a time and go from there. And hopefully Terry kind of reiterates that one game at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So, and in the final aspect of tonight and what we're going to talk about is this. We are going to talk about the MVP race that kind of came that finally came full circle last night, along with Defensive Player of the Year, which Rudy Gobert did win that, and I thought this was kind of cool. Gobert joins Mutombo, Ben Wallace, and Dwight Howard as only players to win the award 3 times, and that's high company for that. So kudos on Gobert. Kind of cool on that, how he won that, and as MVP, for from my buddy Seth who listens to this, who is a big Joker fan, who I kind of like to throw some jabs in there, but I have no complaints. I'll have been really pissed off if they would have gave it to Curry just for the final month and a half he had. So I have no complaints. And Jokic is the second round. He was selected 41st overall in the second round back in 2014. He is the lowest drafted player to be named MVP, with the exception of 3-time MVP Moses Malone, who was not selected in the NBA draft. So Jokic is your MVP. Thoughts?
Yep.
Thoughts?
I don't have any complaints about it. I thought he was in the running for it last year, and this year he
took it.
Improved.
He took it.
Yeah, he was making sure that his name was gonna be mentioned, and he earned it. Did he average a double-double?
Yes.
Okay, I thought so. I couldn't remember off the top of my head. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't have any complaints about it. That's good for him. He earned it.
I will say this, I'm about to go over the MVP voting race, and I just want your reaction on this because I'm a little surprised on second. It's kind of surprised on it.
Okay.
In a way. So Joker received 91st first place votes and earned 971 total points. Second was Joel Embiid with 586 points. He finished second. Curry with 453 in third. Giannis 348. And then Chris Paul with 139. A little taken back because the media loves Steph. I think I'm surprised on that. As in the whole season, if Embiid wouldn't have gotten hurt, I thought that race with him and Joker would have been a lot close. Mm-hmm. And I probably would have given Embiid just the nod over him just by a smidge. But after hearing second, third, are you surprised when Embiid and Curry? Or are you kind of like, eh?
No, I'm not surprised. I mean, Curry had a fantastic last month and a half, and Embiid did have an injury, but I mean, I think what really shocked me was just you said 970 points for Jokic.
Sorry, I got rid of the damn article. So Jokic had 910.
Okay. And then Embiid had like 4.
Let's see here. I'm trying to find it again. So everyone, I'm sorry. I got rid of it. I thought I was done with it. No, you're good. No, that's my bad. So you're right. He received 971 total points. He received 91 first place votes.
Yep.
And then Embiid got 586. Curry got 453.
Curry got 453. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I can see that. That's very close between Curry and Embiid. Like, the number of points isn't that ridiculously far off. But yeah, I mean, I guess to them they don't really care.
No, I mean,
so
it's either the winner or you're not.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting in a sense of how you kind of look around Twitter and everything in the NBA landscape and how Curry changed the dynamic of this. And then he comes out and has this wonderful month and a half of basketball. Honestly, it was amazing. It honestly was amazing. Best shooter in the league by far. I could finally say that because we're not playing them in the finals on a year-to-year basis. So, and I can kind of I appreciated his game when we played against him, but it was kind of like, I hate you at the same time, dude. Can you just fucking stop? Please just stop. So I was surprised in the sense of Curry didn't get more votes or anything like that. I'm cool with 1, 2, and 3. I'm cool with, Jokic winning the MVP. Thought he should have won it anyways. I just think in a sense of we're starting to see, I guess, one, I didn't see top 5, was LeBron. So are we going to see a decline in that, next year? I'm curious in a sense of also too, Jokic is the first center to win this MVP since. Do you want to actually take a guess the last center that won this award?
Shaq.
My man.
2003.
Yes. Yeah. So Shaq was the last person to win a center. I'm talking about as a whole.
He was the last person to win MVP. There hasn't been an MVP in 18 years.
Ever, just because Curry had his unanimous, not false.
No, that didn't count. That didn't count. It was a fake MVP award.
So, I'm curious to see if we see more and more big guys kind of get on the list. And I think the one guy we're really going to see a lot is going to be Embiid. As long as he stays healthy. As long as that stays healthy. And I remember when he was coming out, I was like, oh my gosh, Cavs need to get him. I don't care if he doesn't play this season, because that was right before LeBron came. I'm like, oh my gosh, please get this dude. And they never got him. I believe they ended up going with, I think it was, was it Wiggins? I believe it was Wiggins.
Was that the year of that draft?
I'm pretty positive because it went Wiggins, Parker, and then I thought it went Embiid. JR's going to look that up because, my memory's a little foggy.
Yeah, I cannot remember. 2014 draft selections. Yes.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay.
Yeah. Andrew Wiggins was first, and then Embiid was selected third.
So I really liked him a lot coming out of Kansas. Everyone talked about his back, and I mean, he is probably just as dominant as Anthony Davis in a sense of he's long, he could block shots, he's got a range of moves he could kind of go into his bag and stuff like that, shoot the three and all that other stuff. I mean,
yeah.
So I'm just kind of curious, if we're going to see more big guys like that kind of arise now that the older heads are kind of making their descent. That's the reason why I brought up LeBron, people. It's just kind of the ascension. But I'm happy. I'm happy for the Joker, honestly. I mean, he kind of hinted at last year. I thought he should have been in more conversation more than it actually wasn't.
Yeah.
So
Another big man that I think will be in the conversation is Giannis.
Giannis is an interesting player because I look at him more as a small forward, power forward, and he did win the MVP again. I think a lot of it had to do this year was one Joker played really, really well, and so did Embiid. And Giannis started out really, really slow for the first couple months. Started out really,
Yeah,
really slow. So
I think it was because of the short off season.
and honestly, and to hint on that real fast is, I think the NBA had the most injuries this year, and it was for that specific reason. It was that quick turnaround. I wasn't a fan of it, honestly. Was not a fan of such the fast turnaround. Thought they should have started that in January. But I'm not Adam Silver and don't get paid millions and millions and millions of dollars. But yeah, I mean, Giannis will always be up there. I
And
think Jason Tatum is kind of showing too as well. I think you're going to see his name kind of pop up as well.
and I know you said you see Giannis more of a or power forward, which I get it, but he's listed at 6'11", and so is Jokic. So
He plays everything, honestly.
yeah, I think it's his. I don't want to say size, but like I think okay, hold on. Jokic is listed at 284. But Giannis is listed at 242. So 40 pounds of difference will make you change from a center to a power forward very easily.
I'll say this, although I'm curious to see what your reaction is going to be. Last really person that we've seen to play pretty almost 1 through 5 is LeBron. He could
Yeah.
play 1 through 4. I know they kind of threw him at the 5 like a few times, which I was like, that's just really stupid, but whatever. I'm not the coach. You want to play that small ball that the Warriors want to run, whatever.
Yeah.
It's unique how Giannis could do that as well. And I think as his career goes on, I'm curious to see if he could do it just as well as LeBron did during his prime years.
Oh yeah, it'll be
I think
very interesting.
Giannis has more of a length, has more of a reach than LeBron ever had.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes Giannis so much more unique in a sense of he's long and he can run the floor really, really well, but he has that wingspan too, where you think you got an easy bucket and it's in like 3-4 rows behind you. So I mean that's and that's gonna be my comparison on defense. I look him as a small forward, power forward. Can he play center? Absolutely. But would I want him to? No.
No.
No. Especially like you said, there's a 40-pound difference. And when you're not a true center and you see these guys going back to the basket, it's kind of hard to defend that when you're not doing that on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
but Giannis will always be up there. Agreed. And I think Tatum and I think, I'm curious to see about the Nets, with Harden, if Harden keeps doing that 15, 16 assists along with 20 points, whatever, I think you would see his name again up there. I mean, it's unique. I think we're going to see the descendant of the older heads that we kind of grew up with and more of ascension of the younger guys. That's where I was going with that.
Yeah.
But on a side note, before we end the night, is this. I don't know if you saw this. Kind of had a conversation with Matt about this. Is Jason Lloyd? He tweeted out the Cavs are moving their G League team from Canton to Cleveland, according to a source. Home games will be played at Cleveland's Wolstein Center, and that was yesterday. Actually, that was yesterday at 10:42 in the morning.
Okay. Yeah, I did not see that.
It's interesting. I'm curious. I want to know more. Just the fact of I wonder they're moving if one of Canton doesn't want them anymore, or two is if it because the Cavs are that bad. They want to scout these guys, and all they got to do is just go right down the street, and they're there.
Yeah, I mean it could be a little bit of both.
I don't know. I don't understand it, but I'm waiting for more information. I guess with that being said, we are out of time tonight. Um, I know next week, right now is kind of a slow period, so we're going once a week. I know I was going to talk to JR because I am going on vacation, and it actually be 3 weeks from tomorrow. Thank God. Um, if you guys want to see us go live when we're together, let us know. I actually want to try something different this time around. Instead of using Facebook, I kind of want to use YouTube.
Okay.
So that is something we're going to discuss when we get together because JR will be with us. Next week's episode, we will talk more and more about the Cavs off season. I was going to do it this week, but I want to research just a bit more. I know what I want them to do. I want to look at things a few more, and then we'll keep talking about the Indians as we continue. As we'll look at the week back, and then if there's any more breaking news in the NFL, we will get on that as well. Thank you guys again for really being more engaged. I know we're kind of tweeting more stuff out there, with the poll, tweeting out, and everyone's kind of liking, commenting. So please, we do appreciate that as well. If you haven't already, go like us on Facebook, Stampeding Dogs, and then also Twitter at Dogs Stampeding, and then on YouTube, Stampeding Dogs. I will also next week as well reveal, and I haven't told JR this, so this is going to be the first time for him as well. I'm working on this. Hopefully should be done by Sunday. We'll see. I have a couple things to do tomorrow and Friday. You will officially see our logo. I am making the shirt. Hopefully this weekend be done with it, but it should be done by the time we podcast again next week. So you guys will be seeing that as well. I will also be putting out there, if anyone wants a shirt, you guys can contact me and we'll go from there. But yeah, I mean, logo's done. I just got put on the shirt. I've been a little busy with work. And now that's hopefully everything's settled down. Gosh, I hope so. I'm able to do more of that, but be on the lookout for us to be posting more stuff. I mean, so please go like our YouTube. We'll be doing more stuff with the YouTube. And then, on vacation, maybe we can make some videos and we could post them out there. So, I mean, that's all I have for you guys tonight. I'm going to leave it with our co-host, JR. Take it away, my man.
Yeah, I mean, just to go off what Aaron said, we appreciate all the interactions. When you guys like and retweet our posts on Twitter, it helps more people see us. And like Aaron said, we will discuss about going live on YouTube. I think that's a very interesting idea. And we just thank you guys for tuning in week in and week out and just staying patient with some of our technical difficulties that we're having.
Gosh, yeah.
And just staying with us through all that. Seems like we're starting to get the hang of it better now. And yeah, I mean, I hope everyone has a good day.
Yeah, I mean, on that note, thanks you guys for listening to the Stampeding Dogs, and everyone just keep being on the lookout. We'll post more into Facebook. We've been doing Twitter a lot more. There's a lot more interaction with Twitter. We'll do more stuff, on Facebook. Probably do an Instagram account here too, with other stuff too, with short little videos. But that's all we have for tonight, everyone. Thank you guys, everybody, again. JR, it was nice talking to you, buddy. And then we will talk more throughout the week. And then everyone else, have a good night. And we will talk to you guys next Thursday.